Sound Zig coming in at the top of the interview. Today I have Matt Moody. Matt's been a near and dear friend to me and Sea Level. We've shared many of shows throughout the years with Matt's various projects and still do. So Matt is playing virtual show CLE May 31st with Liz. This conversation is going to be part one. We get pretty specific because when he started his first group, Sea Level was just kind of starting at the same time. We have a lot of shared gig history because of it, and we get into it in this conversation. Before we get into the interview, I'm going to share a new recording he put out, which is How Are You Today? He did this track with Hannah Stack. Let's check it out.
Dad, I'm sorry, I can't come over. The news is haunting. Do I go to work? The sky is falling, rainbow acting straight. It's human nature. Why can't we just change? No one's to blame. We're all the same. So how are you today?
Matt Moody with Hannah Stack. Beautiful harmonies, awesome tune, and they did it all from home. Quarantine tune, one of many I'm sure we're going to hear. If you can rate, review, subscribe, comment, and share the podcast, it helps us get the podcast heard and helps our guests get their voices amplified. And here we go, Mr. Matt Moody, part one. All right, cool beans, man. I'm just going to jump right into it if you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready, sure.
Cool beans. We're doing the Zig at the Gig podcast. I'm hanging out with Matt Moody. How's it going, my friend?
Good, man. How are you?
Not bad. How's quarantine been?
Oh, nice, kind of, actually. Apart from, the general, disaster in the news of the day, it's been quite relaxing, I think.
Yeah. Was
Yeah.
it in the peace of mind relaxing, or in just the physicality of not having to do anything relaxing? I guess they're kind of the same thing. Now that I think of it.
I guess a little bit, I guess both. Definitely the physicality of,
Yeah.
not having to run around and play 5 gigs a week, has
Yeah.
kind of been a break, I'm not going to lie, so... but yeah, just more time to think too, I guess.
Yeah. Has there been any quarantine revelations that that are changing the game?
I guess nothing groundbreaking, but just a more general direction for things, if you will.
Cool,
Yeah.
man. Was it because I know you've been, most people have been doing the streaming thing and trying to kind of keep the manicness of the daily routine to some degree. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'd imagine most of my Facebook friends, your Facebook friends are all in some type of band. And you know what I mean? You can see
for
that
sure.
they're all doing stuff and engaging in this digital realm of things, and it's kind of almost, it's inspiring that people are still doing things, but it's also exhausting in the sense you're like, fuck, now I gotta do a thing. How am I gonna do a thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's I've kind of gotten away from social media more so than I've ever been, or at least in the past, I don't know, number of years.
Yeah.
Mainly for that reason, just to get away from all of the I'm doing this and I'm streaming here and I'm doing that, because it's just it creates a whirlwind for my brain, and
Yeah.
a lot of times I want to not be on someone else's idea, be on my own idea, so I definitely feel you. It's been a little bit like chaotic going on there. But like if you're still out there hustling, you know, props to you. That's like, you know,
Definitely.
it takes a lot to still be doing that in this time right now. You know, I feel like most people are I don't know. I've at least felt like slowing down, you know, and that's been like a nice change for me. So
That's awesome. I think it's important too, because like just the rate of doing the gigging musician work, because you hit upon everything. You do like the original circuit, and you're doing like the bar circuit too. You know what I mean? Like, or the cover circuit. You know what I mean? And like those gigs are usually longer and taxing, they're more taxing on just like because
oh, absolutely.
It's you got to be there. You got to be this ghost of a presence, right? You're this entertainment entity where you're in the background, you're entertaining, but you're not overbearing. And like when you're doing the original thing, the mindset's like any opportunity could be amazing, and you're like always in this manic state of like ambition. Like
I guess that's a good way to put it. It's ambitious, but at times, you know, I let it get run away from me. But like you're saying, those bar gigs, man, sometimes those can be like soul sucking.
Yeah.
So whereas like, you know, venue shows, playing with the band, playing original music, doing stuff like that, that's a little more the opposite feeling, a little more fulfilling, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, the bar scene, I hate to say it, but I really don't miss it so much.
There's no spirits involved.
Yeah,
Food,
really.
spirits, and times, good times. But,
What's all their slogans are like friendly spirits.
Yeah, what's that?
Meanwhile, you have like a guy heckling you because you're not playing Tom Petty right.
Yeah. Oh, that's not how he would have done it. You have not backed down once in your life, have you? Like, yeah, that's kind of the meaning of the song? No. But like, yeah, it's a weird. I had a really good conversation with at least a mindset for that type of gig with Ray Flanagan, where it's you're kind of just adding to the atmosphere, and like it is soul sucking because as musicians we work for just a little bit of that, a little bit of acknowledgement, but there you're not really people aren't there.
You're not going to find it outside of yourself. There, I feel like playing those sort of gigs. You know, to get the most out of it, you have to go inward instead of outward. Whereas, like, you know, a lot of times you're on a stage with a band, entertaining a crowd at a festival. It's a little bit of the opposite. Still, you have to go inward, you know, dig deep and find that musical inspiration while you're on stage. But at the same time, it's a little more of you're being fulfilled by you fulfilling the crowd and vice versa. It's just like this cooperative thing going on. Whereas those bar gigs is like the only time I feel satisfaction from them is if I know I'm doing something musically that's like pushing me to be better, you know, that sort of thing. So
that's another really good take on it too, because like you're not the forefront of it. So what the payoff has got to be, like you're saying, from within. It's got to be like I accomplished.
Yeah.
That song's hard to sing and play, and I did it. And
exactly. Or you're trying new things. You know, you have more room to experiment at solo gigs and bar gigs and stuff like that. So that's where I guess I find enjoyment in those sort of gigs. You know,
it makes sense because like that you can sneak your new original in between the Tom Petty songs. And
exactly.
No one's gonna be like, what?
And no one's
happened?
Gonna be like, wait a minute,
hold on.
That's not Tom Petty.
That's not Tom Petty. Some dude might, but it depends on the place. But yeah, man. So like, it's weird. Also because of the hustling thing too, or the streaming thing. When you're watching it, it's like, oh, I love Steve Wright. I'm gonna watch his stream. Oh, but you know what? Cody's also streaming. I gotta watch him too. You start to like feel this pull because all your friends are doing things.
Yeah, again, I go back to I've just been off of it for the most part, checking it in the morning, maybe once a night, and then beyond that, just trying to go deeper into my own world and not the whole internet world. The internet kind of drives me nuts sometimes. You know.
I feel it. What's that look like for you? Has that been like more writing, more focused on learning other things, or?
Just learning other things musically and writing and experimenting and getting more into home recording, which is always something I've done, but have always felt like an amateur at.
Yeah.
But now I've just found it a really good time to just bone up essentially on all of that stuff. So it's been a nice time. Still, having the same creative output, actually a lot more creative output, because a lot of times, I was just going around gigging. I would be exhausted from that a lot of the times. So it's freed up a lot of my energy to just, like I said, go deeper into the other side of, music that I've been wanting to explore, but have put on hold at times just because of, gigs, playing a lot of gigs. So
yeah, that makes sense. Like, as far as like being able to be more creative, because now you're the engineer, you don't have to call a guy, at least you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure, I'm still learning my way through it, but I'm sure the process of writing the songs and tracking them yourselves and producing them yourself is, a very fulfilling feeling at the end of the day. So I guess I'm just looking to do more of that in the future, So
that's pretty awesome.
It's a good experimentation time for me right now, I'd say.
Straight Princing it.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know if I feel like I'm skewing this in my mind, but I feel like I've heard he had like some gold microphone in the center of his console that would like raise and lower.
Whoa.
And that's how he would track vocals, because he would engineer everything himself and produce it himself.
Yeah. Wow.
And his microphone would just, and for some reason I'm imagining it was like pure gold, I guess.
Just like the records. It was made from records. It was made from his own records, his own gold records before he made them. I'm going
for that. Yeah, exactly.
But that's to foresee the song is one thing, right? And to foresee the recording of it and the end all production of it as a full composition is another thing. And to manufacture all those things within that, it's such a learning curve. And like,
it's huge. Because they're all their own art in itself and their own science and skill. So it's not an easy thing, I guess. You have to be not just a master of one thing, but master of many things. Or jack of all trades. I don't really know. Can you be master of everything? You really can't be master of everything.
That's well said.
But you can be good at everything. But then again, coming back around to Prince, he was pretty damn good at just about everything.
For sure. I guess that's an exception. There's always the outliers.
Right.
Yeah, but I feel like everyone's always in the process of learning a thing. Like if Prince had to like make a record now, he would have to learn some shit. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I feel like, in any field in music that you're in, or I guess any art, or I'm sure even like engineers, rocket scientists, it's a constant learning thing. Because even the fact that like just being a musician and all the amount of gear choices we have just like excites me so much, but at the same time discourages me because it's like there's so much gear and some of it's easier to use than others, but it's like exciting, but at the same time it's like, how am I going to memorize how to turn this knob and not this knob on the Q76 compressor? Like how it's,
and even just the fact of the science of compression, or like how do I keep this
right?
like,
even just understanding that in itself.
Like, let alone besides finding the one that works for the rig and the sound and all that bullshit aside from what you have and how you need to make it work, you gotta know everything that concept does, or even how to keep vocals in phase and how like to set it right so those backup vocals aren't low enough to drown out the kick drum, and that's that's
right. Mad respect for all those guys that know all that technical stuff. Because like we can do it at home and it can sound all right, but they're fine tuning it to the point where it's like these two instruments aren't buzzing at 1.5K. It's just like knowing that inside stuff just really takes it to the next level. Even
as basic as looking at a graphic equalizer like on a stereo, and getting that. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm overwhelmed with options with one of those on like a thing to listen
just
to
one
music.
of the fan things.
Yeah. I'm like, oh man, do I need the? But like, it's so specific.
Like, there's a lot of frequencies going on here. Which one's the right one?
Do I want?
I don't know. I'm gonna pull it down. Nope, that was wrong. Yeah, it's a lot of that still for me going on.
But
I'm going to YouTube University, so
yeah,
it's really been great.
There's who have you been following on YouTube? What are the videos you've been checking out?
Well, really, most recently I've been watching this. It's Waves. Are you familiar with Waves?
Yeah.
They did like an 8-episode course. It's all free, and it's hosted by Dave Darlington, who's mixed and produced for won Grammys, this and that. So like his credits are super legit. And he did an 8-episode free course. Each episode's about an hour. And it's called From Demo to Master. So it's essentially, just he takes you through his mixing process and explains why he's doing what along the way and that sort of thing. So that's what I've been watching recently. So for anyone who's trying to learn mixing, that's been a great tool, and it's free. So waves.com.
Waves.com. Plug.
Yeah.
Sponsoring Zig at the Gig. How about that? This podcast brought to you by that free course. But YouTube.
I don't know. Are we allowed to endorse things that we're not actually endorsed by? Like, how does that work?
I think it's more like a trial. So if they're like, you know what, I like how they sold my thing, maybe we should endorse them or not. They're doing fine.
Yeah.
I think it's a win-win sitch.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean they're getting free promo, so why?
Yeah, but I feel like that's important because like, I've always looked at it like seeing the difficulty within, like all those like little things that can cloud the vision of just having the demo become the song.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I find I'm okay with paying someone to do that or not worrying about that to focus on the other thing. And but that being said, I don't have the tools to execute it right. And if I did,
Right.
I probably would approach it differently. But like I think that's just the idea that you're diving into this realm because that's going to open up a world of possibilities. Because you put out a song not too long ago, a single with Hannah Stack.
Yeah.
And was that all done at your spot?
So that was recorded at home, but I sent it out for mixing and mastering because I was not at the point where I felt confident enough in my opinion to put it out there with that. So like the recording itself, I guess is something I've like had down for a while, but the mixing is still that's a learning curve for me.
For sure. But I mean, like, even like knowing where to put the mics and what mics to use, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Which I mean, I went to recording school years ago, and I never,
you did?
I never finished with my associate's degree, but I got the basic knowledge of where to put the mics at least.
That's all. So, where'd you go?
I went to the RAT program.
Okay, try C. Yeah, it's a real good program.
Yeah.
Was that pre or post like going to Nashville?
That was pre.
Okay.
That was pre-Nash.
Pre-Nash. I guess so I'm going to veer off course a little bit to kind of backtrack.
Yeah.
For our listeners, what brought you to music in general? Because I met you during Shred Rot during the School of Rock years, which I was just talking to Liz, and she went to the School of Rock as well and ended up teaching there as well.
Yeah.
And but before that, what brought the guitar to in your hands? What opened up music for you to be an outlet of expression?
I think there was a moment I remember when I was, I don't know, I must have been 11 or something, and like really listening to Nirvana for the first time. I think that's ultimately what did it.
Yeah.
But then
Sick.
there were also like other influences, like my cousin, who was a bit older and in high school, was playing in like punk bands and stuff, and I would go to see him, you know, a few times, like Peabody's Down Under. So
Yeah.
I think really it was just a combination of Nirvana and my cousin being in bands is really what led me to start playing music.
Was it what did your cousin still play in that band? Does he still?
No.
What band was it?
Oh god, it was called A Single Betrayal, and I still have the CD in
Sick.
my CD booklet from when I was like 12, you know, and like all the other CDs in there are like Sum 41 and The Offspring and like Disturbed, and then there's A Single Betrayal by my cousin.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so yeah, that's really. But Nirvana, Kurt Cobain was like a huge influence on me wanting to play guitar. So
was it? And when you was there, beside your cousin, in the nuclear family, was there any musician or like guitars floating around that you were able to get your hands? No. Okay.
No. Yeah, not really at all. It was just Mark, my older cousin. Yeah, there's really been like no musicians in my family except for apparently my great uncle Bill Miller was in the Boston Pops for some time.
Whoa, cool.
As a piano player. So, but never even knew the guy, you know?
Yeah.
So that's like the one real music relation I have in my family. But other than that, that's about it, you know, as far as music history goes.
Distant outlier.
Yeah.
Did you start with a guitar, or were your parents like, well, maybe if you stick with the piano, or like?
No, I started with guitar.
Nice.
Because you know, Nirvana was so in your face, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, I want to do that too," you know. So
didn't make sense when you were got that thing, this thing with metal things on it. Like, did it make sense
so.
intuitively,
Not
or was
you
it
know,
like
not in a technical way? It didn't make sense. You know, because I was 11, 12. And like I teach guitar now, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know how much they have going on as far as technically, like, oh, I'm going to move up a half step because that's a B flat. You know, I don't think they even can think that way yet.
No, definitely not.
But don't get me wrong. There's a few kids out there who can definitely shred. But yeah, it didn't make sense in that way, but more so in just like, I like doing this. I could do it for a long time. That sort of made sense, you know.
I think that's especially for when you're that age. Like, it's weird. I've talked to so many people, and so many started around that 11, 12 that like just into double digits, and to me that's mind blowing because like at 11 or 12 I can't remember committing to anything. You know what I mean? But
yeah, I guess it wasn't even thought of as a commitment at that age, you know. It was just something that you also did on top of you went to school, and my parents make me go do whatever, and I skateboard, you know. It was just like one of the other things that I did. It was never a commitment until, I don't know, is it even still a commitment? You know, it's just something we do. It's inside us. We do it because it's inside us, not because it's, I need to make the Grammys or this sort of thing, you know, like we keep doing it each day just because it's always been there, you know?
Yeah.
So
that's an interesting take on it, that it's just this thing it doesn't really, the music or the concept of the music or the concept of the expression is within the person, and the outlet can be the guitar, or can be the canvas, or can be the hipster typewriter, or like, I don't know, or can be a I watched this video where this guy was taking a typewriter to like a like a coffee lounge, and is just being obnoxious, but
and it's just the loudest thing.
Yeah, it's like but the concept that all that is just the tool for the self-expression, I think is a potent one, you know. And going into things now when like it's really are you doing this expressing to be kind of noticed, or are you doing it to say something type deal? And like I think
Right.
a lot of that's kind of shining through with certain outlets and certain artists. But side thought. So the guitar made sense. Nirvana spoke to you and it resonated. Which I'm going to figure this out. The 6-string mystery. What was the first? What was like the first like lick or song or chord that like you're like that's the first chord to About a Girl? Or
There were two that I remember like playing over and over again, and it was "About a Girl" by Nirvana.
Nice.
Then the James Bond theme song.
They're kind of like that same movement now that I think of it. You know what I mean?
Those were the two where, I first started learning guitar, and those were the two that were just like on repeat. Every time I picked it up, it would be like just hammering those away. Good thing I eventually got away from those two songs.
I mean, those are solid. If that was an M. Moody set, I wouldn't be disappointed.
Yeah, you know what? That would be crazy cool to actually bust out the James Bond theme.
Yeah,
with a full band at some point and play through the thing.
That would be so sick.
That would be pretty sweet.
It would.
What were your like first couple that you remember playing?
For me, it was the intro to Sweet Home Chicago from not Robert Johnson, but the Blues Brothers soundtrack.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense coming from you.
Yeah, that was kind of my like intro to things where I had a guitar laying around that my brother didn't play, and the music around the house was blues music. So to me, I was trying to like that concept of that was like a small lyrical phrase that you would hear every time that song would start, and like it kind of introed everything that followed it. So just the fact that with, I think it's like 3 or 4 notes you can do so much with so little. To me, kind of like was like, oh whoa. And then I think Smoke on the Water or something was I can't really remember what was next.
Yeah, I mean, Smoke, it's in there for anybody. I feel like you have to throw that one in there.
If you got strings and you figure that minor third, you're like, yeah. But that's awesome. Well, okay, so Nirvana, because when I met you, I think when we really met was School of Rock, right? Or was it a Shred Rot gig?
It was a Shred Rot,
and that was at the
first Shred Rot show.
Oh no shit! I didn't know it was the first.
You level played at the first Shred Rot show.
Wow, man! I remember.
Yeah, I think we had one house show before that.
Yeah,
in a basement, and then it was the Fantasy. It was Sea Level.
Yeah, wow, man, that's crazy. We gotta do like a reunion show at the Fantasy before they tear it down.
Fantasy, that would kind of be fun, actually. If we could like really pull it off and get a bunch of people out there,
for sure.
That would be a good time.
That would be really cool. Everything else, but no one else will probably think it's cool but us. You know what I mean? They're like, couldn't you go to Dakota
or the Fantasy? And we'll be like, you don't understand. This is where it all started.
I carried all this stuff up again. The stairs.
All the stuff up these damn stairs every single time. Man, I was playing a Fender Twin Reverb.
Oh man!
At that time,
yeah, that'd be great.
Can't tell you how many times we had to tag team that Fender Twin on those back stairs at the Fantasy.
Yeah, as fried as the Fantasy became or may still be, like a lot of people got their first gigs there. At least a lot of people I know. That was like a beginning for a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, same memory for me.
And it's like it's a big enough venue where you're like, oh, whoa, you know what I mean? Like this is gonna be cool, and it's kind of like a horrible introduction to what you're going to want to do every time. Like it's kind of
pretty much.
It's an awful addiction to start with because it's a sick place to start.
Yeah.
But kind of stepping back before that, so you're figuring out this stuff. How do you get from singing or just playing guitar to singing as well? Because that's something you've always like. Was it seeing the model of Kurt Cobain and like trying to emulate that with yourself? or was
I guess so, to a certain degree, but really, when I started out, I just wanted to be a guitar player.
yeah,
And like I always like sang to myself and this and that. But I don't know. I guess I just didn't have the courage at first to really want to start singing. I just wanted to hide behind the strings, so
Yeah.
to speak. But my dad was the one to really like talk me into trying to sing. He was the one who was like, "Hey, you know, I've heard you sing here and there, like throughout the house. You should really give it a shot, you know." And I eventually like signed up for vocal lessons and did a show. My first vocal show at the School of Rock was Black Sabbath, and I think I only got Dio songs. They only gave me Dio songs. And I'm like, even at that time, I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
yeah,
Because I was like 15, 16, had just hit puberty, and my voice was like trying to do this.
Yeah.
You know, that
mob rules. Like,
So, yeah. But some way or another, I actually got the mob rules, and I pulled off the mob rules. So,
nice.
yeah. But that was a hell of a way to like jump into like, I want to start singing. Here you go. Here's some Dio. Sing this. So
I was like,
yeah.
I'd like
Trial
to,
by fire. Really.
I'd like to try coffee. Here's a coffee bean. Make it work, huh? Eat it. Ah!
Yeah, really.
Oh man, that's like such a heavy thing to jump into, but I mean, kind of like makes I don't like. So okay, so you got thrown into it, and was there a comfort within that made maybe a little more sense than the guitar did at first, as far as like how to be expressive with it?
I guess singing took me a long time to. I mean, I guess I don't know. I'm still everything's a work in progress. You
Yeah,
know? But it took me a long time to really like. I hate to even say it, but like find my voice,
No.
you know, and
for real. But
like really be confident in that. So I couldn't even tell you how many years, you know, it really like took me to find that, and it's still something I'm like honing to this day, you know.
yeah. Well, as a someone who's seen your musical journey from a side, like I remember even at the Shred Rot gig being like, this guy's a good singer. You know what I mean? To me, your vocals, so in my mind, I always kind of thought you were more a vocal first musician. You know what I mean? I thought that was like kind of your strong suit. And like,
Yeah.
or not your strong. I don't want to diminish the other stuff you're doing, because like now, like M Moody songs are like chord wise and what you're doing wise are pretty progressive, and there's a lot going on, and it's not just. But anyway, but like to me, that always I thought that was your kind of focus. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, this guy
Was singing.
yeah, because you just killed it at it, and like
I guess it's been like a back and forth, you know. Sometimes I'm really like, you know, on guitar, and then other times I'm just. But it's never been like I've never looked at myself as like a vocalist. I've never thought of myself that way. Like, oh, I can go on the X Factor and just, you know, hit a million runs. Which that's a whole ass skill again.
yeah, for sure.
There's so many different skills in the music industry to hone in on. But more so from the writing songs approach and expressing that way instead of I've never really thought of myself as, oh, I'm a singer. It's been more of I'm a songwriter, and, you know, I need to be able to hold my own on, you know, vocals and lyrics and melody and chords at the same time too. So I guess that's really where, you know, that's been my ultimate point of focus, is the songs themselves.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So watching you from afar, I've definitely seen your musicality and like in all of those aspects grow to like this awesome point where they are now. And I know every musician and every artist is continually trying to grow. So I don't like, but from the Shred Rot days to like where you are now, it's definitely like a lot of what you like. A lot of your vocal work and all, it's gotten more expansive. A lot of your music work, like as far as like chord writing and song, not chord progression writing or progression, chord progressions and songwriting has grown so much. But okay, so from Shred Rot, Or no, we didn't even get to Shred Rot yet. Shit, I'm trying to paint a picture. I'm trying to guide everyone. But so I think that's one that's amazing. That's still a practice. And as someone who's seen you from afar, growing through all this, I'm like, whoa. He's. I always thought you were like confident in that, and like, you know, that wasn't even a thought for you. So for me, as a fan and a friend, like to learn that that's something you really worked on, it's like.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's awesome. I think the more human a story is of how like one gets to where they are, just makes that story so much more relatable to anybody.
Right. Yeah, it's
but-
a lot more inspiring that way. Certainly.
Hold on, Taylor was sending me a thing. But from the standpoint of getting, what's she saying? Are you
Getting?
Sorry.
Sorry, you're all.
Sorry.
Are we live right now?
No,
Dave?
no.
Is this
No.
live?
This is just audio recording.
I see.
Sorry, Taylor. I think we mixed up the times, or I mixed up the times. But like, so from going from yourself, when did the band become a thing? When did the Shred Rot outlet start?
I guess it started through School of Rock, just because, you know, which for those of you who don't know who School of Rock is, it's just like a program for kids. They get together and jam and rehearse Zeppelin songs or Stone songs
Dio
or whatever,
songs.
or Dio songs, whatever the show is, you know. So, but so it started through that, you know. Like at first, I was just doing School of Rock and getting to know a lot of kids who were into music at the time, you know, and then started making some friends through School of Rock, and I think it actually came about. Shred Rot started because me and Scott Drastic didn't get into the headliners at School of Rock, which was like a program. We both got rejected, and we were like, man, fuck this. Like, let's start our own band. And so we did. And then we got Nick Reinman to join. We went through like, you know, a few like awkward rehearsals with some other people trying out different things, me and Scott, but eventually Nick Reinman just fit right in. And then that was Shred Rot, you know, when we were all like different ages. I was like 17, Scott was 14, Nick was 15. So that's how it started. It started in Scotty D's basement. And then just went from there. We had no fucking idea what we were doing because
no one does.
You know, no one does at that age. But we just wanted to, like, all we knew was we wanted to throw down and kick ass. So that is what we went for in the like post-grunge heavy alternative vein. So it was a good time. Shred Rot was a good time.
That's awesome. And like, as far as like first bands go, that's a pretty awesome first band. You know what I mean? Like,
I would say so. Yeah. You're still in your first band, aren't you?
No,
That's kind of the dream, you know. Sometimes like you think about the Rolling Stones and
the
Beatles, and like, sure, maybe it wasn't the first pair of guys they jammed with, but it was really like that first bond, you know, that first band. And if you can keep that thing going, man, it's just like one of the most powerful things in the universe, you know, to keep that core unit of you and just your diaper buddies essentially like still kicking ass, you know. So
there definitely is a pure thing about that. Like Sea Level is like my first original, like, or kind of, it was like maybe not first, it was like second or third, but first like serious one that actually stuck. Right. And I'm very blessed to like still hang out with Cody and still be
it's
creative.
An awesome thing to see, an inspiring thing. And I mean, you guys
thanks,
throughout the years have just kicked more and more ass, you know, as I've seen you go. So
appreciate it. It means a lot coming from you, my friend. But so when that shifted, you kind of disappeared for a minute. Shred Rot disappeared. And I guess from previously in this conversation, you went to the rap program for a little bit, but then you went.
But
to
that didn't last very long.
Yeah.
But then, and like we were talking, the Nash happened.
So
you know?
explain the Nash for a little bit.
Oh
Like,
God.
how'd
So
that
it's
come about? Like,
all right. So let me try and condense it, but it is a pretty long story. So I guess it takes course around the Shred Rat time or towards the end of the Shred Rat time. Um, uh, got an email from this person in Nashville who was just like interested in managing me, which I didn't even know what that entailed at that point.
yeah.
So
Jeez.
I was 18. Me and my family went down to Nashville to meet the manager, essentially, and we stayed the weekend and played her and let's call her a colleague, some songs in her living room, and she was like, I think you got like a lot of great raw talent here. Let's like work on it. And, the ultimate goal was to get signed to a record label, I guess, ultimately. But it was just years of like going to Nashville. I never really lived there, but would spend a lot of time there, just going back and forth between Cleveland and just working on everything, doing a lot of co-writes, doing a lot of performing, doing a lot of writers rounds, recording, some stuff that I didn't want to be doing, but there was a lot of like growing pains, I guess, because Sharon, my manager at the time, was, she had this vision of me, and then there was actual me who still didn't even know who the fuck and what the fuck kind of music he wanted to make, or who he wanted to be.
Yeah.
And it was just like a weird dichotomy of things. But I guess the main takeaway from Nashville is I certainly have grown a lot from that experience. It's helped me to become just a more conscious musician, I guess, if that makes sense. But it kind of all went south after years of working with Sharon.
Yeah.
After we recorded an album and had done a lot of work, just like gearing up to essentially pitch to labels and that sort of thing. And then things started going south for her personal life, which things I don't really want to get into,
Yeah,
but
no,
it kind of just, everything came to a crux, and then it kind of just fell flat on the ground after that. And I was left feeling like shit, like I don't know what to do again, because like, the first time like Shred Rot ended was kind of because of the whole Nashville thing. And then I was like, okay, now I'm working towards this other thing in Nashville. Here we go. And then that all fell to the ground. And then I was like, oh shit, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Moved to Columbus for about a year and was still like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Moved back to Cleveland and essentially just dove into the music scene here and have just worked my way from the ground up in the Cleveland music scene. So that's been like my most fulfilling, fruitful part of this music journey thus far, has been the Cleveland scene. So,
well, even
in the singer-songwriter scene, and just all of our friends, it's a very fulfilling thing to have that community and to have great outlets to play at, festivals and venues and stuff around here.
I definitely agree with. We have a little magic hub
We do.
in Northeast Ohio. But kind of just even like with that brief summary of the trek so far, it's kind of like this when you came back here from Columbus. It's like your first time really doing you with the not worrying it being applied to a bigger picture of something or someone else's
essentially
vision.
It's been the most, I guess, I don't know, I don't want to say natural, because Shred Rat was like that was
That's
just
like,
a very pure thing. It was just, we want to rock, we're 17 and we were on a rock.
Or you're the rock.
Whereas Nashville was like, I'm gonna make you into a star, and it was
Yeah.
like, I don't feel like a star, like at least not in the way that you're trying to make me feel, which was like she wanted me to like wear suits and stuff and like
Yeah.
go to these gala events, which was cool and all
For sure.
but
Experience is experience.
but it was like, oh man, this ain't me. Like I'm still, you know, a punk to the core. So
hell yeah.
so I don't know. Yeah. Cleveland's just been, it's been a good, I don't know, home musically, literally, physically, and musically. So
What was it? Now, kind of like through all the mesh of Nash, like
Nash.
of the Nash of the Nash history, it sounds like the kind of the songwriter takeaways from it is what seems like you're applying the most to the new Cleveland upbringing of you.
Yeah. I guess there is that, like, you know, pop sensibility, contemporary.
I didn't even mean style wise. I just meant mentality. Because, like, you know, I mean, I remember, I still think it's a badass thing. Like, you wrote with Steve Cropper, or like,
And
like,
we wrote songs together.
Even just doing that from like a super like, Steve Cropper's a professional. You know what I mean? There's no
he's the man.
Like, but even from being thrown in a situation like that, and you said you did some songwriter circles and like stuff I didn't know about, like, so kind of shaking what you said at the beginning of the interview, the focus to the song is almost like, that's almost like now you've had like the introduction from the master to some degree, or from the professional, to like kind of shine light on how it's done, quote unquote.
I that was a big takeaway from Nashville, was emphasis on the song, which like had already been something in my subconscious, you know, just through like the writing I did with Shred Rot. Like it was still in my mind always about the song, not about who can shred the hardest, or
even though it's called Shred Rot. Well,
even though it's called
Shred
Rot. Yeah. I guess we wanted to shred collectively, but still like make you feel something.
Yeah.
And like going back to Nirvana, Kurt Cobain, you know, he had such a great pop sensibility in his writing, and that's just where I took a huge amount of influence. Was that, you know, shit, like if it ain't broke, fix it. Verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, and like hit that last chorus hard as hell, you know? So I guess Nashville just like reinforced that, but it taught me the kind of writer I didn't want to be. And I'm still like at times getting away from like so much that Nashville has ingrained in me as a writer and that sort of thing.
Like what's an example of it? Is that like a style thing, or is that like a point of view? Is that like
just the like there's pop writing, and then there's like writing pop because you feel it, you know, or writing pop-esque songs because you feel it, and that's how I've always felt as a songwriter. I'm writing pop songs in a rock format, you know, but there's writing it because that's what you feel and that's what you want to do and that's the music you love to make, and then there's the other side of it, like writing for it to get on the charts and to get a cut on Luke Bryan's album, you know. So it's like that two sides of the coin.
So that makes sense.
And I knew I didn't want to be writing, you know, for Luke Bryan's album. So
they might be better. They might be better if you did.
Maybe I'd found more success by now if I had been writing for Luke Bryan.
But I guess there's the for and from type deal, I guess, writing from yourself and writing for someone else, and like that's a really interesting perspective, because like I didn't know if it like maybe it was a certain way of writing, like even within the fine print, you know what I mean, like looking at it from like if you want to have a hit song, do not start the song with the word I, or start the song with the word I.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
there's no exact science to it,
For sure.
But there is like, I mean, you hear it time and time again. There is like, formulated
For sure.
pop music,
I love it.
Yes. Like I just got this. I guess I'm gonna do another free plug for a different company. But I just got these headphones, and they're Bayer Dynamic DT 990 Pros. And the reason I got them is because, like I said, I'm trying to get into this mixing thing a little more, and I basically just Googled, what are the best headphones for mixing? These seemed affordable, and they came up on every list. So I was like, I'm gonna give them a shot. And I've just been listening to, all these different kinds of records with these new headphones today because I just got them today.
Yeah. Wow.
And I mean, there's so much like successful music out there, in so many different genres. But like I was listening to, I don't know, the first Tame Impala record compared to the latest Dua Lipa album.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, I just want to hear the difference sonically and all these things going on. And you put on, like, I love that first Tame Impala record. Have had it on CD in my car for years now. And it's just like, it's one of those things I can just like hum the whole album through without even having to think about it, But like, technically speaking, Kevin Parker's even done interviews about it, saying how, like, he didn't know what the hell he was doing recording that first album. And he knows like a lot of the things he did were not industry standard. Like he said, he used 57 on a kick drum, which, you've heard of that sometimes, but it's like, it's a hard thing to get unless you're an EQ master, it's not going to sound quite like that thumping kick drum. And then I put on the Dua Lipa album, and like immediately in the headphones sonically, it's just like, holy shit, this thing smacks, and it's undeniable. Like the mix on this and the instrumentation, it just smacks, but it's like at the same time, I'm not necessarily listening to that stuff because it's not my cup of tea. And a lot of times I feel it's just, formulated. So there's like, it's an interesting thing to think about, like what, is not technically right, but has more heart will always succeed, as opposed to what's technically right and sounds great, but doesn't have any heart behind it. It's going to flop. There's been countless albums that have been cut in just like $1 million studios that don't sell anything because there's no heart behind them, so it doesn't really matter ultimately like the gear you're using. But like I said, I don't even know why I got on this tangent anyway, but
it's all good.
These headphones are amazing.
They get the gig brought to you from those headphones.
Yeah.
You
and
probably
these top 3 pop stars, their shit does spank. I will say it's spank.
I think it's important to at least actualize that. Like, definitely, especially like with musicians, like now that the medium is Spotify and it's kind of a single song based thing, right?
Yeah.
And it can be going through anything. Like with the CD, it's going to get the medium was a CD player which was hooked up to some type of speakers. So headphones may have not been the thing for a while until they got the portable one, But like so the medium of which how music is shared, I think has a big like factor of has a big expectation of what is quote unquote good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if so like that old record or any old record is going to sound completely different and maybe not as good as you remember it, maybe just because of what it's going through. But like that doesn't degrade the motion being conveyed. And like
exactly, it boils down to, I think, one thing, and it's just energy. It's just how genuine is that energy you're putting across. Doesn't have to sound great, doesn't have to be the most mind-blowing thing sonically or musically,
for sure,
but how real is that thing you're putting out, and can people connect with it? I think that's really the most important.
And what's even like taking the concept of energy, right, and applying the music to a science sense. What is music? Well, it's sound waves traveling through air. So it's air molecules moving in a specific way. Moving is creating heat. Heat is energy. You know what I mean? So it kind of,
Right.
just, I guess there's a lot of factors into it, and I'm kind of thinking out loud, explaining it to myself and to anyone who's listening. But like, it's interesting how that is, and how pure a source of that can be when it's all technically the same thing. Scientific, like on a plane like
Well,
that.
no, I feel you. Like now it's got me thinking about like, signal flow. So like,
yeah,
everything is just ins and outs essentially. We
Whoa.
put our mic
Yeah.
in through an interface, and then it comes out on the computer, and then we run it through a reverb, and then it comes out of the reverb, and so on and so forth. But like, so like, we're the input into the microphone,
Yeah.
and then it creates the output. But then where is the input for us? We're the output for something that's being put into us. And what is that? Divine inspiration. But then where is the input for that? Eventually I think it all has to
circle back.
There's a little bit of gray area up here, for most of us, because we as humans can't comprehend it. But it's this whole circle. It's just all one big signal flow,
Mic drop.
Energy, man.
Energy, man. Well, hey, Matt, I got Taylor waiting. I really want to get into M. Moody and even the Matt Miller band. We only got halfway there. So if you'd be down at one point in the future for your next endeavor to do a part 2, that would be sick.
Absolutely, yeah. I'd love to do a part 2. Sure.
Well, all right, man. Well, thanks for hanging out. We got you and Taylor and Liz on May 31st. Virtual
May
shows.
31st. That's when it's. Oh yeah, virtual shows. So when are you dropping the podcast?
I'm going to put this out either some point in the middle of next week. I'm
Dope.
going to.